Hello, brothers and sisters. And yes, are you ready for some godly wisdom as we slowly enter the book of Proverbs? As I said, we're going to start with those teaching sections where a teacher seems to be talking to a student, trying to encourage him to seek out these teachings, these truth, this wisdom. And in the first chapter, we're going to see him present to us a very bad example, run from this, and a very good example, chase that, which is what he's going to do throughout these couple of chapters. This is bad, don't do that. This is good, go after this. And even in the mini sections, I should say the sayings, there you go. In the sayings, we're going to say the same thing. This is wrong, don't do that. This is right, chase after that. But before he even enters that, he's going to tell us what this book is about. But it's not an introduction like we write introductions. I read a lot of theology books, and introductions are really well laid out. It'll present all the points he wants to talk about. There's a lot of phrasing, but Hebrew scripture many times is poetic. It's to the point, repetitive, a lot of synonyms being used, and with a point of just giving us a main idea. And we're going to try to see that main idea as we go through this very simple, very repetitive introduction. We start with verse 1. The Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel. Right away you should say, wait a second. This book is not all the Proverbs of Solomon. The last 2 chapters are not him. And there's possibilities that some of the other sayings were not just all him. Why is it called the book of Proverbs of Solomon only? It's like it would say the Psalms of David only, but it's not. There's other people who wrote Psalms. The book of Solomon doesn't do that. So why does this book? Well, most probably because it's trying to make us understand that these Proverbs, all of them, including the last chapters, invoke the same kind of divine wisdom that Solomon had. It's to wake in the readers that just like Solomon was wise and what he said really came from God's gifting him, these other people and other wisdom teachings, same thing. You should think of the same guy, the same kind of divinely given wisdom. Then he starts to tell us what these proverbs are for. It's going to give us a few reasons or a few usefulness of these proverbs. He's going to start by saying it's to know, wisdom, and instruction. To understand, words of insight. This is where repetition comes in, right? Wisdom, instruction, even understanding. Even though there's a different definition for these words, instruction will focus more on the part of disciplining and correcting people. Still, the main idea is this is to teach you how to live. That's what wisdom, instruction, understanding of words of insight. We'll keep that in our pocket for now. We'll come back to that. But that's what the Proverbs are about. It's to help you live in a way you should be living through instruction, including correction, and wisdom tells you the positive things. So that's one of the first reasons Proverbs exist. It's to do that. Here's another one. To receive instruction in wise dealing, in righteousness, justice, and equity. Here's where we see the spiritual aspect to it, with the word righteousness. And we go back to the idea of instruction, the Proverbs, to give us an instruction so we can live a nice, righteous, just, equitable, or fair way of living. So not just being wise in our business dealings, that's not the point. It's how to live in a way that's honoring to God, that thinks and acts like God would. That's what this instruction is about, what these Proverbs are for. To help us live in a way that is fair and right and really resembles God. That's what the law is about too, by the way. So here's another reason now why the Proverbs exist. They're also to give prudence to the simple, knowledge and discretion to the youth. More repetition. Just like the last one and the one before that. More repetition when he presents who this is for. Simple. People who are gullible, easy to fall into traps. We're going to be giving them prudence. Help them to be shrewd, to be able to think things through, to recognize when people are trying to scam them. But then when you look at the youth, we should also think of somebody who's fresh off the blocks. He's still trying to make sense of everything. She's She doesn't know everything, even though she thinks she does. No, just like the simple, they also need some knowledge, some prudence. That's what the Proverbs is about. It's to take people who have no experience, who are still young or simple in their understanding, and need to grow in it. So, two groups of people at the same time, it's the same group of people. People who need instruction. But that's when he's going to kind of break the mold. We've seen him go to tell us these are the usefulness of Proverbs, to do this, this, this. He's going to stop for a minute. After he's presented us this group of people, the simples, the youth, he's going to show us another group of people. Then he's going to come back to another reason. So, the next group of people, let the wise hear and increase in learning. And the one who understands obtain guidance. Who is this for also? Those who already know. Wise. Those who understand. But who still need to be taught though. They seem to grow and mature in their understanding. They think that, no, I got this. I got wisdom. I've read the Bible. I understand it. Well, that's pride. You don't understand anything then. You need to start back. See, the book of Proverbs, these teachings are not just for those who are simple in mind and need it, but we, in the other category, we're okay. No, you still need to grow in that. There's still a place to grow. There's still much you can learn. You need to be humble enough to receive it. There's a lot of these sayings that will actually say that. How the one who's truly wise will be teachable. I paraphrase, but that's kind of the idea. So there are two groups, right? The two extremes of the pendulum, of the spectrum. Those who really need it, and technically those who really need it also. The simple and the wise. Now he comes back to the last reason that we need this book of Proverbs. We need these Proverbs to understand a proverb and saying the words of the wise and the riddles. So now we again see some repetition and connections, right? Proverb and words go together. Sayings and riddles go together too. And you understand the other riddles, right? It's something that's put in a certain way. You have to try to figure out what it's actually saying. And that's the point. A bit like the parables of Jesus, the riddles, but meant to teach great, deep spiritual truth. Hard to understand, but by the Spirit we can get them. The book of Proverbs is to help us understand proverbs and riddles and to make sense of life. We're starting to get a pattern of what this book, these proverbs, are all about. Right? It's to teach. It's to help those who are gullible, but also those who already know a lot. They have to have a better understanding and a way of making sense of things, of figuring things out. See, that's why we can't take the book of Proverbs as absolutes. It's just telling you, do this and you'll get that. No. It's actually meant to make you think more like God thinks. To reason more like He does. So you can live in a way that truly honors Him as His representative here on earth. Right? In a fair and just and righteous way. And of course, it will all start with that last little phrase He's going to say, which we all know, which is going to launch us after this, but that will be the next video. And that phrase, of course, is none other than the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Again, we see the contrast, the comparison. Just like we saw with the two groups of people, we're seeing two groups of people here. First, you have those who fear the Lord. Respect, awe, but also fear and trembling. He is God. But not what makes us flee, but get closer, but humbly. It seeks His understanding to live in a way that's pleasing to Him. Compared to the fool. A fool literally is one who denies God exists. As though it doesn't matter what he has to say. They will despise wisdom and instruction. They're the ones going to be compared to us over and over again through this book. Calling us not to be that fool, but to be that wise person that fears the Lord. Again, that's why it shows us that this book is not about just good dealings in this day-to-day world. It's about how to honor God in this day-to-day world. And it starts by fearing Him, humbly loving Him, respecting Him, and being in awe of Him. And seeking to think like He does through what he's taught us. It's the call to really use our minds, as much of our heart, to make sense of what God says and to live as he does. I hope this has been a encouraging word for you and a good help and a tool when you approach the book of Proverbs. But we're going to be doing that next time even more. On this note, be blessed.